Look, becoming a billionaire in 10 days sounds insane, and that's exactly why you should aim for it. Most people aim low and hit. I'd rather aim absurdly high and miss by an inch than spend my life thinking small. This isn't about shortcuts or luck, it's about radical focus, calculated risk, and the willingness to work like no one else will. If you want to compress decades of strategy into days of execution, then let's talk reality and how to bend it. Most people begin with ideas. They think the key to success is having a great idea, something clever or never before seen. But that's a huge misconception. Great ideas are everywhere. What sets true game changers apart the ones who build billion-dollar empires is not the idea, but the obsession behind it. Obsession is what keeps you up at night, thinking about the same problem over and over. It's the fire that pushes you to keep building, testing, failing, and trying again when everyone else has given up. When you're obsessed, you're not thinking about money, you're thinking about impact. You're thinking about the product, the solution, the experience. Money comes after obsession. Obsession sharpens your vision and drowns out the noise. You don't scroll aimlessly or get distracted by trends because your mind is wired into one frequency: solve the problem at all costs. Elon Musk didn't start Tesla because electric cars were trending. He did it because he was obsessed with the future of sustainable energy. He didn't build SpaceX because space travel was a cool idea. He did it because he was obsessed with making humanity multiplanetary. When you operate from obsession, your energy becomes unlimited. You stop thinking in 9 to 5. You stop asking for motivation. You start building, and you keep going even when logic says stop. Because obsession doesn't care about logic. It cares about the mission. Now, in the context of becoming a billionaire in 10 days, starting with obsession is even more crucial. In a compressed timeline, you don't have room for shallow motivation or vague ambition. You need laser focus. You need to wake up on day one already consumed by a mission so powerful it pulls you forward. Whether it's building a product, launching a service, creating a solution, or flipping an opportunity, it has to be something that keeps your adrenaline pumping. That obsession will become your engine. You won't need external validation. You won't care what people think. You'll go into a sort of tunnel vision mode, where all that matters is executing your mission. Obsession fuels urgency, and urgency is the only way to create speed. If you're going to build wealth at an exponential rate, you need exponential action, and that's not possible unless you're obsessed. People often underestimate how much work can be done in a short time if you truly lock in. 10 days is not a lot, but when you remove distractions, break time down into micro tasks, and operate with relentless intensity, you can compress what most people do in 10 months into a week and a half. But that level of focus only comes when you're obsessed. Otherwise, you'll burn out, you'll quit, you'll start negotiating with your excuses. Obsession silences those negotiations. It also turns you into a magnet for resources. People are drawn to individuals who are deeply obsessed with something because obsession signals conviction. Investors, partners, customers, even strangers can sense it. It's contagious. It makes people want to help, to contribute, to follow your lead. But you can't fake it. You can't pretend to be obsessed with something you don't truly care about. So the first step in building anything massive, especially if you're on a crazy 10-day countdown, is to find the one problem you'd go to war with. The thing you'd do even if you weren't getting paid. That's your starting point. Once you have it, everything else becomes a matter of strategy and execution. Without it, no amount of tactics will matter. Because without obsession, you'll eventually crack under pressure. But with it, pressure becomes fuel. 10 days of obsession can outmatch 10 years of passive effort. You'll start noticing patterns no one else sees. You'll make connections others miss. You'll take bold steps without hesitation because your internal compass is already locked in. And that's what separates the people who talk about big things from the ones who actually build them. Obsession is the foundation. It's the filter that helps you ignore 99% of distractions and dial in on the 1% that moves the needle. You don't get distracted by shiny objects. You don't chase noise. You don't switch paths because someone on the internet said something different. Your mission becomes sacred. Every decision starts running through that filter. Does this help my mission, or does it slow me down? Most people never ask themselves that question. They drift. They dabble. They consume more than they create. Obsession flips that equation. It puts you in the zone where your output increases, your clarity sharpens, and your decisions become lightning fast. You're not operating from fear. You're operating from purpose, and that's where all momentum begins. If your goal is to become a billionaire in 10 days, then solving a $10 billion problem should be your starting line. Most people aim too small. They think in terms of comfort, not scale. They build something that solves a personal inconvenience or offers a minor upgrade to what already exists. That kind of thinking will never take you into the realm of billion-dollar outcomes. The people who build fortunes at lightning speed target problems that are massive, urgent, and deeply painful for a large number of people. They don't look for tiny gaps in saturated markets. They look for broken systems, underserved industries, and global inefficiencies. The mindset shift here is radical. Don't ask, what can I sell? Ask, what is broken in the world that desperately needs fixing, and how can I be the one to fix it in a way no one else has dared to try? If the problem isn't big enough, your potential impact and profit will never be either. Elon Musk didn't just make a car. He tackled the global dependency on fossil fuels. He didn't just make rockets. He challenged the aerospace monopoly and made Mars colonization a public mission. It's that level of scale that creates billionaire outcomes. When you set your sights on a $10 billion problem, everything changes. Your energy becomes more intense. Your creativity becomes more aggressive. You stop thinking in terms of small wins and start designing systems, platforms, or technologies that can reshape how people live, work, or think. You start aligning your actions with outcomes that affect millions. And with that alignment comes speed, because when the problem is that massive, the market pulls you in. People pay attention. Investors show up. Media takes notice. Suddenly, you're not chasing the market. The market is chasing you. To move fast, you have to eliminate complexity. People overcomplicate business because they don't understand the scale of what's possible when you simplify your focus. A $10 billion problem doesn't mean you need to build a $10 billion company overnight. It means the problem space has that level of market value and your solution taps into that wave. You don't need perfection. You need direction. You need to enter the space, make noise, iterate fast, and position yourself as the one who's solving it differently. Solving a small problem with elegance might get you a few thousand customers. Solving a massive problem, even imperfectly, might get you millions. The world doesn't reward the prettiest solution. It rewards the boldest execution. If you solve a real problem with even 20% effectiveness, people will still flock to you because they're desperate for a solution. Most of the time, the market isn't looking for perfect. It's looking for progress. You can build while you move. You can learn while you launch. But none of that matters if the problem you're solving doesn't move the needle for anyone. You have to become obsessed with understanding the depth of the problem, study the pain points, talk to the people living in the chaos, immerse yourself in the frustration, get so close to the problem that the solution almost builds itself. Most people stay at the surface. They look at symptoms, not root causes. But when you drill into the core of a massive issue, you start to uncover leverage points, places where a small, well-designed intervention can create massive downstream impact. That's where the opportunity lies. That's where you find acceleration. And this isn't about being smarter than everyone else. It's about seeing things from a different angle. You don't need a new invention. You need a new approach. Uber didn't invent taxis. Airbnb didn't invent rentals. They just approached existing problems with a new level of insight, speed, and digital leverage. What you need is a problem that has existed for years, maybe decades, and a way to solve it that uses today's tools in ways no one has dared to combine. That's where billion-dollar speed lives. Once you identify your $10 billion problem, your next move is to define your wedge, the sharp, narrow entry point that gives you early traction. You don't try to solve everything on day one. You pick the most painful, most visible piece and attack it relentlessly. That first wedge becomes your beachhead. It creates proof. It builds momentum. It shows the world that you're not just another person with an idea. You're someone who gets results. Then you expand outward. Fast. You move from niche to scale, from tool to platform, from service to ecosystem, and you keep evolving as fast as the market demands. This is why solving a big problem matters more than having a big plan. Plans change, problems stay painful. If your solution removes that pain in even a slightly better way, people will pay attention. They'll switch, they'll share, they'll stick around. You don't need everyone, you need early believers. Early adopters, people who are tired of the status quo and hungry for a better answer. Find those people by solving their biggest pain faster than anyone else. One of the biggest illusions people have when chasing extreme success is the idea that they have to do everything themselves. That's not how billionaires move. Speed at scale doesn't come from individual effort, it comes from leveraged systems. If you want to create massive results in a short amount of time, you need to stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like a commander. The real power is not in how much you can do, but in how effectively you can deploy the time, talent, and tools of others to move your vision forward faster than anyone else. Leverage is the secret weapon of exponential success. It means using other people's time, other people's skills, other people's platforms, and even other people's money to achieve results far beyond what one person could do alone. Elon Musk didn't build Tesla by assembling cars himself. He recruited world-class engineers, hired relentlessly, delegated execution, and focused his energy on vision, strategy, and impossible standards. He didn't design every rocket himself, he led the mission, attracted the best minds, and pushed them beyond what they believed was possible. To move like that, you must become ruthless with your time. You don't get stuck in small tasks, you delegate them. You don't write every line of code, you bring in developers who live and breathe code. You don't manage customer support, you build a system that manages itself. In a 10-day sprint to $1 billion outcome, your minutes matter more than most people's months. Every second spent on something someone else could do better or faster is a second stolen from what only you can do, driving vision, making high leverage decisions, and scaling outcomes. Most people hesitate to delegate because they think no one else can do the job like them. That's ego. In reality, there are people who can do parts of your business better than you ever will, and they're just waiting for the right opportunity. Your job isn't to be the best at everything. Your job is to build a machine that becomes the best because of how you coordinate the right people in the right roles. That machine becomes your engine. It's how you turn momentum into velocity. Tools are another form of leverage. We're in a digital age where automation, AI, code, and cloud infrastructure can handle tasks that used to take entire teams. You don't need a full staff to build a product anymore. You can automate marketing, customer service, email funnels, logistics, and data analytics. The tech stack available today gives you the kind of leverage that used to be reserved for Fortune 500 companies, but only if you know how to use it. Tools without mastery are just noise. Tools with clarity become multipliers. Talent is leverage too. You need to find people who already have the skills you lack, and more importantly, people who are better than you at what they do. Pay them, reward them, incentivize them with equity, but get them on board fast. Speed isn't just about effort, it's about who's in the room with you. The right partner can cut your learning curve in half. The right advisor can help you avoid million-dollar mistakes. The right team can take your idea and turn it into a product, a platform, a movement. But only if you're willing to let go of control and trust the process of smart delegation. Even distribution channels can be leveraged. Instead of building an audience from scratch, collaborate with influencers, content creators, email list owners, or communities that already have your target market's attention. You don't need to reinvent everything. You need to plug into the systems that are already working. Affiliate partnerships, licensing, revenue shares, these are all ways to tap into existing momentum. Let other people help you scale and reward them well. When you create wins, you accelerate everything. Money is another leverage point. You can raise capital, take pre-orders, use credit, or partner with investors to give your idea fuel. If you're solving a $10 billion problem, then funding isn't a hurdle, it's a magnet. Investors don't fund ideas. They fund people with obsession, speed, and leverage. Show them that you're not just building a product, but a system. Show them how every dollar becomes 10, how every hire creates scale, and how every tool increases output. The way to think about leverage is simple. For every hour you put in, how many units of value are being created? If it's just 1 hour of impact, that's low leverage. If your 1 hour triggers a system that executes for 100 hours, that's high leverage. If your one email launches a campaign that reaches 1 million people, that's leverage. If your product gets sold while you sleep because of an automated funnel, that's leverage. Every decision you make should be driven by this question: does it multiply or drain your time? Billionaires don't just think in terms of effort, they think in terms of multiplication. That's why they move faster than everyone else. That's why they build massive empires while others are stuck in daily hustle. They have systems that scale, people that execute, and tools that work around the clock. They build engines that move with or without them, and that engine is only possible when you stop trying to be the engine yourself and start designing one that runs on its own. In a world that rewards speed, waiting for the perfect moment is one of the most dangerous illusions you can have. If you're trying to become a billionaire in 10 days, perfection is the enemy. The winners in this kind of game don't wait until everything is polished, complete, and safe. They launch before they're ready, they push their ideas into the real world as fast as possible, and they learn in motion. Every hour you spend polishing an idea in private is an hour your competitor is gathering real-world feedback, adapting, and taking the lead. Perfection slows you down, execution pulls you forward. A prototype isn't meant to impress, it's meant to test. You don't need a finished product, you need a functional core. The smallest version of your solution that works in real life is more powerful than the biggest idea trapped in your head. This applies to software, products, services, even content. The goal isn't to get it right, the goal is to get it moving. Once it's out there, people respond, you get data. You get noise, you get traction, or you get rejection, which is even more valuable because it forces you to pivot and adjust. Speed of iteration is more powerful than perfection of planning. Most people obsess over details that don't matter in the early stage. They worry about fonts, colors, logos, domain names, and branding kits before they've even spoken to one real customer. That's wasted energy. In a 10-day sprint to massive impact, your entire mindset has to shift toward action. Build a version, test it, break it, fix it, improve it, launch again. This cycle isn't something you do once, it's something you live in. It becomes your rhythm, and every cycle moves you closer to the version that sticks. People don't buy perfect, they buy useful. They buy speed. They buy simplicity. If your early prototype solves a painful problem faster, cheaper, or better than what they're currently using, they'll jump on it even if it looks ugly. If it saves them time, makes them money, or reduces stress, they won't care about your design, and if it doesn't, That's feedback. Real feedback is the oxygen of progress. The faster you get it, the faster you grow. Launching early also creates momentum. There's something powerful about putting a stake in the ground and saying, "Here it is, I'm in." It forces commitment. It turns your idea into a project, and your project into a business. People start paying attention, they ask questions, they offer help, they challenge your assumptions. All of this creates acceleration. It pushes you out of theory and into reality, and reality is where wealth is created. You don't get paid for ideas, you get paid for results. Those results come from what happens after launch, not before it. Launching before you're ready also breaks fear. Most people are paralyzed by the idea of failure, criticism, or rejection. But those are illusions created in isolation. Once you ship something, those fears dissolve into real data. You stop fearing the unknown because you start seeing what's true. Maybe people love your idea. Maybe they hate it. Either way, you win, because clarity beats hesitation every single time. The ones who move fast aren't fearless, they just understand that action kills fear faster than thinking ever could. You also start to build credibility. In a short window of time, proof matters more than promise. You can talk about what you're building, or you can show what you've built. That tiny prototype, that demo, that MVP, it becomes evidence. Evidence that you're not just a dreamer. Evidence that you can execute. And once you have that, it becomes easier to attract partners, customers, even investors. People follow momentum, not potential. Launching early shows that you're serious, that you're not waiting for permission, that you're willing to take risks. Another benefit of launching early is speed of feedback loops. Every time you release something into the market, you open a loop. People respond. You analyze, you adjust, then you release again. These loops are what separate good entrepreneurs from great ones. The tighter your loop, the faster you grow. The market becomes your teacher. Every reaction becomes input. And with each new version, your product becomes sharper, your messaging becomes clearer, and your position becomes stronger. This mentality also helps you filter distractions. When you're in the build, ship, learn cycle, you don't have time for noise. You're not on endless Zoom calls or watching tutorials all day. You're in the field, testing, building, reacting. It's raw, it's intense, and it's real. That urgency forces clarity. You stop worrying about what might go wrong and start focusing on what is actually happening. And that clarity lets you cut through the nonsense and make decisions that move the needle. Everything starts to click faster. Marketing becomes easier because you know what people are actually responding to. Sales becomes more natural because you've already had conversations that exposed real objections. Product development becomes more focused because you're solving based on actual feedback, not fantasy scenarios. Every department benefits from early launch energy, and every win, no matter how small, compounds. 10 days of this feedback-driven chaos will give you more progress than 10 months of quiet planning. If you're aiming to become a billionaire in 10 days, you don't just need to create value, you need to extract value at scale and at speed. That's where monetization becomes your battlefield. This isn't the time for modest pricing, free trials, or playing small. This is where you monetize like a maniac. You take your product, your offer, your solution, and you squeeze every possible revenue stream from it without hesitation. Every second counts, and every interaction with your audience is a chance to generate income. Not next week, not next month now. Monetization isn't just about slapping a price tag on something. It's about designing an irresistible offer that people feel stupid saying no to. The value has to outweigh the cost by a factor of 10. It has to feel like a no-brainer. You start by understanding exactly what pain you're solving, then craft the fastest, clearest, most impactful way to deliver that solution. Then you price it according to the transformation, not the task. You're not selling features, you're selling outcomes. People don't pay for the product, they pay for what it does for them, how it changes them, how it improves their life, health, business, income, or status. Speed of monetization comes from clarity of offer. If people have to think too long, you lose. If they're confused, you lose. Your message has to hit like a punch, simple, specific, powerful. One problem, one promise, one path. Your funnel can't have 15 steps. Your checkout can't be complicated. Your conversion path has to be frictionless. In a 10-day window, every barrier between interest and purchase has to be smashed. You eliminate complexity. You simplify buying. You give people one clear action and make it so obvious they don't want to walk away. Then comes the stacking. You don't stop at one offer. You build an ecosystem of monetization around your core. Upsells, downsells, bundles, subscriptions, affiliate deals, licensing, white labeling, whatever fits your model, you implement it fast. You build layers of revenue. If someone buys once, find a reason they'll buy again. If someone hesitates, give them a lighter offer. If someone buys everything, give them premium access. The goal is not just to make money, it's to engineer a structure where every customer represents multiple revenue opportunities. You also need to move from selling to scaling. This is where you start thinking like a scientist. Every interaction becomes a data point. Every purchase tells you something. You track what works, kill what doesn't, and double down on what converts. This isn't guesswork, it's a lab. You're running experiments 24/7. You test copy, you test prices, you test positioning. You run ads with micro budgets and scale only the winners. You move fast and you move smart. You don't throw spaghetti at the wall, you throw darts with precision. You also scale through platforms. Don't just sell to your audience, tap into other people's audiences. Run partnerships, do cross promotions, plug into affiliate networks, jump on distribution platforms. Leverage influencers, communities, and trend cycles. Let others help you monetize faster by giving them a piece of the upside. If your offer is hot and your margins are strong, give people an incentive to push it for you. In 10 days, that network effect can make the difference between a few thousand and a few million. Monetization isn't a dirty word, it's the fuel that keeps your mission alive. If you've built something valuable, it deserves to be compensated. And if you want speed, you have to own that mindset fully. You don't apologize for your prices. You don't discount to feel better. You stand behind your value and you position it with confidence. The right people will see it and respond. The wrong people will walk, and that's good. You don't chase everyone, you attract the right ones with a laser focused message. Cash flow is oxygen. If your goal is to build at breakneck speed, you need capital moving from day one. That means revenue needs to be baked into the core of your business model, not as an afterthought, not as a future phase, but from the first interaction. When people engage with you, they should immediately understand how you make money and how they benefit. Transparency builds trust, simplicity builds conversions, and momentum builds more momentum. The moment money starts flowing, everything gets easier. You can reinvest in ads, hire help, upgrade your tools, increase speed. You're not stuck in bootstrap mode. You're in growth mode. That's why monetization isn't just about profit, it's about power. It gives you options. It gives you leverage. It gives you confidence to push harder, test bigger, and scale faster. And in a 10-day sprint, that confidence becomes your edge. The biggest barrier to becoming a billionaire in 10 days isn't money, time, or resources, it's belief. The moment you decide something is impossible, you shut off the part of your brain designed to figure it out. Your brain stops looking for solutions, it settles, it accepts the ordinary, but those who create extraordinary results aren't bound by what's realistic, they're driven by what's possible. They remove all limits, especially the ones they've placed on themselves. That's where everything starts, not in spreadsheets, not in strategy, but in mindset. If you don't believe something is possible, you'll never take the kind of actions that make it real. You have to shift from thinking like a consumer to thinking like a creator. Consumers follow trends, react to the market, and wait for permission. Creators build the trends, move the market, and act without waiting for approval. When you operate from this level, your decisions become bigger, bolder, and faster. You don't ask, what's the safe move? You ask, what's the next level move? The difference in questions leads to a difference in outcomes. It's not about being reckless, it's about being fearless. You're not here to survive, you're here to disrupt. This level of mindset doesn't happen by accident. It's built, it's trained. Every day, you challenge assumptions that most people accept without question. You start asking why things are the way they are, and then you start asking how to change them. You realize that the world is built by people no smarter than you, and if they could shape it, so can you. The key is to stop outsourcing your power. Stop waiting for someone to tell you your idea is good enough. Stop thinking you need more credentials, more time, more money, or more support. Everything starts now. With what you have, right where you are. People who operate at the highest level don't just work harder, they think bigger. They don't build products, they build categories. They don't chase customers, they create movements. They don't copy what's working, they redefine what's possible. The real breakthrough isn't in the business model, it's in the mind. Once you believe you can collapse time, create value, and scale infinitely, the mechanics become details. The belief system drives the strategy, not the other way around. Most people never even tap into this because they're too busy playing by rules someone else made up. Removing limits starts with language. The words you use shape the actions you take. If you say, I'll try, you give yourself an exit. If you say, maybe, you stay in the middle. But when you say, I will, everything aligns. Certainty doesn't mean arrogance, it means commitment. It means you've decided to figure it out no matter what. You've burned the backup plan. You're all in. That's where true innovation is born, in that pressure, in that conviction. Because when your back's against the wall, your brain starts unlocking solutions you didn't even know you had. Limiting beliefs don't always scream. Sometimes they whisper. They show up as hesitation, as waiting, as analysis paralysis. They hide behind logic and practicality. They wear the mask of being realistic. But realism is often just fear dressed up in smarter clothes. The truth is, the world is not limited, our minds are. And when you remove the mental brakes, you stop seeing problems and start seeing leverage points. You start asking different questions, taking different risks, making different moves. And that's what creates separation. That's what puts you in the top zero. Zeros, arrows, arrow, 1%. This isn't about toxic positivity or blind faith. It's about radical responsibility. Owning the fact that if you want to do something insane, like build $1 billion machine in 10 days, you can't afford to think like the average person. You can't afford to carry around inherited beliefs that were passed down by people who never did what you're trying to do. You have to reprogram, you have to disrupt your own operating system, and you do it by exposing yourself to bigger visions, louder examples, and higher stakes. Environment matters, who you listen to matters. Who you spend time with, what you read, what you watch, all of it feeds your belief system. If you surround yourself with people who are always playing defense, you'll absorb that mindset. But if you're around people who think in terms of global scale, infinite possibility, and rapid execution, you'll start to rise automatically. You'll start normalizing what others consider insane. And from there, every decision changes. You stop asking, is this possible? And start asking, how do I engineer this at scale? At this level, you stop seeing failure as the end. You start seeing it as data, as a signal, as part of the equation. You take bigger swings because you've detached your identity from the outcome. You don't need certainty to move, you need momentum. Every move compounds. Every shift in belief opens up a new set of actions, new tools, new allies. You begin to realize that there are no rules, just results. And you can bend the game as long as you're willing to remove the rules from your own thinking first.